Section 3.6 is on multiplying special products. Now this is very similar to the multiplication that we did in section 3.5. We just have two kind of like special problems that we can kind of work out using what I call a shortcut. The first one is called squaring a binomial. Okay, if you have a binomial that is squared, like my first problem here, 2x plus 9 squared, this does not mean that you just square the terms individually, okay? But when you square something, this actually means that you multiply it by itself. So this would be 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 9. Okay, so if you see a binomial squared, this is actually what it means, that you're multiplying that binomial times itself. And so then we could just do the full method like we did in section 3.5. So that would mean multiplying first 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. Outer 2x times 9 would be plus 18x. Inner would be 9 times 2x, which would be 18x. And last would be 9 times 9, which is 81. Okay, which is fine. Nothing new that we haven't already done. Combine like terms. 4x squared. I have an 18x and an 18x, which would be plus 36x plus 81. Okay, whenever you square a binomial, the answer that you get will always be a trinomial. And it's actually what we call a perfect square trinomial. Now, this is a term that you kind of really need to remember. You'll see this again in a future chapter. This is called a perfect square trinomial. This means the first term here, the 4x squared, is the square of the first term in the binomial. Okay, look at our original problem. If I square 2x, I'm going to get 4x squared. Okay, and my last term, skip over here, is the square of the second term in the binomial. So again, look at our original problem. The second term is a 9. If I square 9, 9 times 9 is going to give me 81. Okay, what really makes this a perfect square trinomial is this middle term. Okay, the middle term is twice the product of the two terms in the binomial. Okay, look at my two terms that are in the binomial, 2x and 9. What would I get if I multiplied 2x times 9? That would be 18x. Okay, twice that means 2 times that, which gives me the 36. Okay, so the shortcut is, if you don't want to go through the full method, you can look at your original problem and say, I'm going to square the first term. That gives me the first term. Multiply the two terms together, times 2, gives me the middle term. Square the last term, gives me the last term. Okay, this is kind of an optional shortcut that, I wouldn't say you have to know, because you can do it by full method. But let's look at the second problem down here. 6x plus 5 squared. If I use this shortcut, it would tell me to square the first term. So that means 6x times 6x would be 36x squared. Then I would multiply the two terms together, which is 30x times 2 would give me 60x. And then I square the last term. 5 times 5 would be 25. And so this is my answer. Okay, using kind of what I call the shortcut method. You can, like I said, write it twice and do the full method if you want to. Okay, let's look at a few more problems. x minus 6 squared. Again, if I want to use the shortcut, take the first term, multiply it by itself. So x times x is x squared. Multiply the two terms together. X times negative 6 would be negative 6x, and then I multiply it by 2, which would be negative 12x. Square the second term. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. So on all of these, that constant will be a positive. The middle sign here is going to depend on what the sign is in the binomial. If it's a negative, then that sign would be a binomial. If it's would be a negative. If it's a positive, it'll be a positive. Okay, and then the last problem, if I square x squared, that means x squared times itself will be x to the fourth. Multiply these two terms together, which would be negative 3x squared y times 2 would be negative 6x squared y, and square the last term. Negative 3y times itself will be a positive 9y squared. Okay, so this is using our shortcut for squaring a binomial. You can work it out, write it twice, do the full method if you want to. Now, for future references, things we're going to do in future sections, it'll be good if you can use the shortcut. Okay, so practice a few of these, work them out, really whichever way you choose. Okay, there's going to be one more part to section 3.6.